We are in full-blown off-season mode, so that means pay Brock Purdy, not pay Brock Purdy. Which is it going to be for the San Francisco 49ers? So, with it being the end of the year, who else to turn to than Steve Young? Steve Young has been on top of all of this stuff from the very beginning. So it's always nice to hear what he has to say on the matter. Now, he's talked about this kind of process and stuff before, but now with seeing this whole season come to an end, what does he think? What are his thoughts? Take a listen to what he said as he joined KNBR right here.
So this offseason, the biggest thing will be when Brock Purdy gets his contract extension. And I just want to get your thoughts. Like, from what you saw this season, do you feel comfortable giving him one? And what would be one thing you want him to improve upon for next season?
Yeah, so, you know, this is again, I think there's now more than great places for quarterbacks. There's now probably 15, and that's awesome. But, I still would run here first. And so Brock, he knows that. That's why he will figure out a way to make sure that it gets done. And the 49ers, look, from one of the best qualities that a quarterback can have in the NFL is the ability to process, right? To process in and out of the huddle, process through the play, process under duress. And that's where he thrives. He's one of the best in the league at processing. That's hard to do. Not everybody's great at it. There's things that he can't do or can't do as well as some of the kind of bigger, stronger guys, and that's okay. But so I think we've just got to figure out how to make that match so that it feels good to Brock and it feels good to the 49ers. It feels good to our efforts to be in the Super Bowl. And that's a calculus that, I'll leave to John Lynch, because I believe in John and he's got the vulnerability to not think that he knows everything. He's also tough-minded yet kind human being. I think he's the guy that I'd want to go figure it out with Brock and find that fine line for each other so that we don't put anybody in duress and puts everybody in a position of respect. And let's go do this. Because otherwise, if you said to yourself, look, I feel like we could find someone as good as Brock, well then what do you do? How do you go backwards? How do you go, and the only thing you can do is throw the mechanic in the trunk and keep moving. And so I think that John, with Jed's help, will figure out that is not, you have to thread the needle on all of that. That's not simple. That's not like, hey, look, let's just solve for one guy. You have to solve for a bunch of stuff. And we've been good at that in the past, and I think we'll be good at it here.
Steve, 6 jobs open, head coaching positions open in the NFL. Raiders, Jets, Jags, Bears, Patriots, Saints. What's the best job? What's the worst job available?
Name them again quick for me.
Raiders,
Adam?
Jets, Jags, Bears, Patriots, Saints.
I think the Bears, because I think Caleb is one of those guys like Sam, like Baker, like Jared, like a number of other guys that have found places that now, through the innovation of the 4 guys I just talked to from 6-7 years ago, have now found places that are great for quarterbacks, and they're thriving.
So listening to Steve Young here, I've actually heard him answer this question similarly before, where he was a little bit more direct. I feel like we got a little bit of word salad from Steve Young on this, and he kind of avoided the question about where Brock can improve. So because I've heard him speak on this, I know what he's trying to say. Effectively, what Steve is saying is clearly it's up to, John Lynch, Parag Marathe to figure this out. But what he's saying is it needs to be figured out in a way where you're not paying Brock and you can't build around him. Steve firmly believes that Brock needs the weapons around him in order to have success, which every quarterback does. But kind of as we've known from Steve and how he's talked about Brock, is he's more like Brock is more of a I'm trying to think, like you get the tractor trailer comparisons, like the tractor pulls the trailer, obviously the trailer kind of gets pulled. I think part of Steve's mentality or thought processes, and all the times I've heard him speak about this, is he does feel like Brock gets pulled along a little bit. Now, obviously, Steve is also very complimentary of Brock in other areas of his game, like his processing. He always talks about his processing. But you can't shy away from the fact that, Brock Purdy isn't 6'5". He doesn't have a cannon of an arm, and he doesn't run like Lamar Jackson. Now, he does have ability to run, escape, make plays outside of the pocket. I, I, I get that is definitely an element of like, having to be a quarterback in today's NFL. You have to be able to create when things break down with your legs. But man, Brock does so well within the pocket. I just don't think that gets enough credit either. His ability to maneuver through muddy pockets, and it wasn't as good as it was consistently last year. There's still definitely signs, um, but I think basically what Steve is saying is like you just have to get this done in a way where you can still build around Brock and you can still put the weapons in place in order for him to be successful. And I don't disagree with that. I've said that as well. I think, I've seen some comments before because some people have said that I have said that Brock needs to be paid the highest quarterback in the league. I've actually never once said that. I've always talked about how the market dictates the cost of doing business at the quarterback level and where he's compared to. And based on his resume, he's going to be compared to Dak. He's going to be compared to Trevor Lawrence. He's going to be compared to Tua. He's going to be compared to Jalen Hurts, all quarterbacks that he has been better than in his short time in the NFL. So, what that means is that's where the conversation starts. Whether you like it, whether I like it, what it is. The market is the market. And when you have guys who um, overpay quarterbacks, it changes the market. It changes the market value, and that is where these prices come from. That's where this all of this is. So I expect Brock to be paid within the top 10 of all quarterbacks in the league. I don't know where that ranks in an APY situation. And I've said it before, I care less about APY because we can make Brock look like the highest paid quarterback in the league, but when you get into the details, it actually is pretty manageable. Um, so that's all I care about. And that's what Steve's saying. He's like, as long as you get this thing done and you can make it so you can still build around Brock, then that's it. That's what you need to do. And I fully agree. And I've said that every step along the way is we discuss the reality of the market. We discuss the reality of how these conversations go. We discuss just it was just the same. It was like the same conversation that Cam Newton had. And again, Cam has been the he driving force of Brock as a game manager, but he still said he should be paid as one of the top quarterbacks in the league because that's what the market dictates. And he's been better than a lot of the quarterbacks that have been paid at that level. So that's how it works. That's just how it works. So what really matters though is the structure of it. And again, just what like Steve Young is talking about. Can you still build a competitive roster around him? You got Brandon Ayuk under contract. The hope is that you can keep George Kittle, you can extend him. He's got a $22 million cap hit this year, and he's in the final year of his deal. I hope they extend him. You push out that cap hit this year and you can spread it out over years where the cap is going to rise. Same thing with Purdy. You spread his cap hit out as the cap is going to rise. I really do believe if we see Brock get paid in the 50 to 60 range in that slot, and you pick and choose where that is, in 3 years from now, that is going to be like the mid-level. I would say not mid-level, maybe above mid-level average for quarterbacks. Like that, like top 15 get paid around that level. Um, so I think it. I think there's a lot of things that need to happen, but you know, I get where Steve's coming from. I don't think he's wrong. I think that we have to be smart about this. I don't think you should not pay Brock and move off of Brock, but we also have to make sure that the future of the franchise is in good hands and we can continue to build and stay competitive, which I think which is what everyone wants. And if we can get that, if we can get Brock paid, if the APY is nice and we can still build, then what's the problem? I don't see any problems. Do you have a problem? Because if you do, let me know in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.